Howdy howdy, and welcome to a special video, because today is the exact 14-year anniversary of me joining YouTube on May 20th, 2008. So, that's pretty cool on its own, but I also recently passed 1,000 subscribers, which has been my goal from sometime last year. It's been about 9 months, so that is also huge. But on top of that, I also got accepted into the YouTube Partners program, which also really great. But on top of that, Hello Games also retweeted me for the first time, which just so happened to be a post about me, celebrating finally making the partner program. So it's been a huge week for me, and don't worry, I'll talk about this at the end of the video. I'm not going to spend too much on it yet, but I wanted to thank you all from the get-go for watching, commenting, and subscribing these past few, days, weeks, months, and in a few cases, years. Making videos about the games I love has always been a joy of mine, but sharing it with all of you lately has been even better than I would have expected. So thank you for helping me do that. But okay, you didn't click to hear my backstory. You clicked to see some crazy stuff. With this being a nostalgic week for me, I decided to make a more personal video than my usual content. So instead of a list of technical or well-measured game elements, today I'm going to be sharing some stuff from my personal No Man's Sky journey over the years. And believe me, playing this game as long as I have, I've definitely seen some stuff. So let's start with ocean planets. Back in 2018, No Man's Sky Next was a time of great change, and with these changes came great bugs. Many bugs, so many bugs. Luckily, a lot of these bugs were really cool, believe it or not. Like this one, it would cause a planet's terrain not to render at all. So then what you're left with is a sphere of pure water. That's pretty cool on its own, but what makes it truly strange is that you can actually fly your ship straight into it without bouncing off like a regular ocean. So I present to you underwater ship gameplay. Ta-da! I remember some people at the time speculated that Hello Games might be working on water and gas planets and that these were sort of like leftovers from that process. But personally, I think No Man's Sky's terrain pop-in was just worse than usual in this case. Either way though, it was a pretty memorable experience, and it kind of makes me wish there were more types of environments to pilot my ship through, variation. Anyways, next up let's look at this. Can you guess what this is? Well, if you're a veteran player, you probably recognize it as another Next Era glitch. This time though, the glitch is causing the floating debris around an abandoned space station to grow in size until it just completely envelops the station itself. Eventually it gets to such a size that you can actually see it from the planet below. You would think the debris would be something that wouldn't render from a certain distance away, but at this time it did, so they obviously hadn't optimized that properly. Luckily it didn't seem to impact performance at all. But despite it being completely harmless, like you could just fly through it, I couldn't help but feel a sense of uneasiness while looking at it, especially as I got really close to it. At the time, this was the largest moving object I'd seen in the game, and it felt dangerous. This sense of intimidating scale is, strangely enough, something that the game rarely plays with. While certain space encounters today can evoke similar feelings, I feel like they never reach the magnitude of this weird glitch. And I personally hope they add threats on this scale to the universe going forward. Or maybe some kind of non-planetary structure. Just imagine new types of space stations that maybe, move similar to the space anomaly. Could be really cool. Now let's step back from Next and return to Atlas Rises for a second. What I'm about to show you is something that most players at the time actually didn't believe was even in the game. And no, I'm not talking about sandworms, although I was looking for those at the time as well. I'm talking about sand planets. Now, unfortunately, I only took screenshots of this planet when I discovered it. I didn't realize how rare it was until I never came across another one again. Typical, of course. It was an amazing experience though, unlike anything that we have in the game even today. The only plants on the planet were the required resources for the biome and for gameplay, which were of course present on all planets. Instead of appearing like, hills with dirt or grass or anything, these actually looked like sand dunes. They had like a sand texture and everything. They looked really great. And unlike the sand planets that were finally added in the Origins update, there weren't thousands of rocks and things to fill the landscape. It was actually empty. To To be honest, I miss that emptiness, and I personally hope Hello Games will add some more planets of this kind to the game. You know, planets without something to interact with every 5 feet, as much fun as that is. Planets where you can truly feel alone, lost, and out of place. You know, a little bit of variation. The fourth thing I'd like to share with you is perhaps the strangest terrain I have ever encountered in nearly 6 years. Take a look while I explain. For you newer players, you may not know this, but terrain generation was straight up wacky back in 2016. With each subsequent universe reset, it would become more and more tame, and in some ways, more realistic. This was done in order to accommodate new gameplay and AI requirements. Don't get me wrong, I love the game's current terrain. As you can see here, I have a video talking about it if you're interested. I still believe it offers plenty of surprises for explorers to discover. However, nothing compares to this planet that I discovered back on August 14th, 2016, less than a week after launch. The entire surface was covered in these large, hollow, almost cube-like structures. And I do mean large. Here's a photo of a monolith inside one of those structures, in order to give you a sense of scale. With green skies and no flora or fauna to be found, this planet felt strange and alien, even for No Man's Sky. And while terrain structures like this are almost non-existent today, I did see a similar structure nearly a year later after this, during Atlas Rises. You know, I should do another video on terrain generation sometime. I feel like there are still a lot of gems out there to be found that I think most players just don't come across. But you know, that'll be for another time. Last but not least, we're heading back to the next era once again to witness what happens when a few too many pilots answer the call of duty. Or rather, my distress call. Despite the absurd number of starships you see on screen, the pirate they're attacking is barely in any danger, since at this time NPC starships pretty much dealt no damage. So it was left to me to finish the battle, which I did, half-heartedly. I was kind of having fun just watching them swarm this guy. And then afterwards, it was pretty cool because you could see all of them fly towards the space station on the little map. And once it filled up, the rest of them had to swarm the nearby freighter to try and find a place to dock. It's just interesting to see how the game handles this many friendly AI at one time. It was really cool to see. As cool as this was, though, I actually think it was even cooler when the Sentinels decided to do it. So, as you can see here, my friend has quite a few Sentinels on his tail. And back in the day, you couldn't outrun them the way you can today just by, boosting out of there. They would keep up with you. So the only way for you to exit combat would be to dock somewhere, land on a planet, or destroy them or be destroyed. So he didn't have a lot of options. I think he was low on stuff to refill his shields at the time, so he didn't have the resources to engage in combat. So he ended up fleeing towards this planet, and I was quite a distance from him, so I couldn't engage the Sentinels either. So I ended up just following him. And when he landed, what you see here is actually, it looks like it's straight out of the Outlaws update, more than 4 years later, because they started doing strafing runs on his ship while he was there just like a sitting duck. Luckily, this gave me a chance to take them out pretty easily since they were focused on him. However, he had his own stuff to deal with because they also sent a Sentinel Walker after him. So while he dealt with the Walker on the ground, I dealt with the Sentinels in the air. And it culminated into this pretty epic battle that's still one of my favorite No Man's Sky experiences to this day. But believe it or not, that's all the time I have for today. Which of these did you think was the coolest? And I want to know, what's the strangest thing you've ever experienced in No Man's Sky? I'd like to hear about it in the comments below. Also, be sure to stick around to hear about how you can help me decide the topic for the next video. By the way, I did notice that all 5 of these items on this list are from old versions of the game. And you're probably wondering, is this indicative of Hello Games optimizing all the quirky elements out and thus the fun out of the game? Well, let's ask this guy. Apparently not. I think this is a case of a lot of my more recent WoW experiences either deserve their own videos, such as this one about the biggest crater I've ever found, or that they'd fit better into another video that I simply haven't made yet, which I have a few coming up that I think will include, similar moments to this. So trust me, there's no shortage of jank in No Man's Sky, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So thanks again to everyone who helped make my videos popular enough to reach 1,000 subscribers. It's seriously a dream come true for me. You have no idea, or maybe you do. I talk about it pretty often. But shortly following that success, I was accepted into the YouTube Partners program, as I said, and that means the community tab on my channel is now open for business. To celebrate this, I'm adding a poll asking what you would like to see in the next video. Should I cover some secret features that most players aren't aware of? Should I revive my podcast in order to speculate about the fast approaching next update, which may or may not be causing me to delay a few other videos I was hoping to make? Or should I do a gameplay focused video similar to Adventures with my Sentinel buddies, where I just, play the game, go on an adventure, and, bring back some gameplay footage to share with you? You can help me decide by voting. Just visit my channel page on desktop or on the app, and you should see it under Community. Now that I have the Community tab, I look forward to interacting more with y'all outside of just my videos comment sections. So thanks again for watching. Feel free to leave a like if you think the video deserves it, and feel free to subscribe if you want to make my day. Wink wink. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!